Hello, my name is Sunshine, and I am a proud Yubera and Kamilaroi woman, and a descendant of the black-bearded South Sea Islanders. I have found a passion for both education and my culture through the combination of two underappreciated disciplines, history and geography. Both history and geography pair together in education under the HASS title, HASS. Whilst I agree with current topics of conversation in classrooms related to HASS, I believe that my culture's representation is limited through the lack of understanding by educators. I believe more can be said in both disciplines. In this discussion, I will be exploring how history and geography help us understand Indigenous connections to land, culture, and continuity across time and place as both separate and overlapping disciplines. I will be discussing how each discipline contributes to the unique ways that students are thinking and inquiring in the classroom, and how these ideas are represented in the Australian curriculum, and how the New South Wales HSIE syllabus extends these ACARA topics. By examining Indigenous perspectives, I would like audiences to understand that the land is not just a physical space, but a continuous living source of identity, memory, and spirituality rooted in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, deeply interconnected to the past, present, and the future. Let's begin with history. History prompts us to explore the reasons behind events in the past, how societies change because of those events, and even how those events will impact the future. From an Indigenous perspective, the idea of continuity is central. Before European colonisation in 1788, First Nations people had lived on this land for over 60,000 years, preserving thousands of years of knowledge, law, and language. These practices were passed down through generations, through song, story, and connection to country. These traditions act as both evidence of culture and a record of existence. The introduction of European settlers and the English way of life brought disruption to these traditions through forcible removal of both land and children, violent conflict, and assimilation policies. Still, Indigenous people have continued these practices, preserving and strengthening what remains. This demonstrates continuity and a change, a key historical concept in today's society. The Australian curriculum's history discipline urges students to explore the past from multiple perspectives, reading stories from all sides. For example, Year 7s investigate the topic of deep time history in Australia, exploring both European and First Nations perspectives on the evolution of technology, society, and the culture in Australia. Through the discipline of history, students build the tools they need to analyse sources, respectfully challenge narratives, and understand the truth about Australia's past. On the other hand, geography focuses on the environment, places, spaces, and interconnection. For First Nations people, country does not just refer to the land itself, but the land as a living being. The land holds stories and laws from ancestors that are still heard today. Geography assists us when we explore relationships with ancestors and the land by investigating how people interact with the environments around us and how specific places have cultural ties. Western geography regularly divides the world into different regions and borders. However, Indigenous geography views spaces differently, as interconnected and whole, led by seasonal knowledge, sustainable practices, and relationships. For example, fire stick farming, a traditional fire management strategy, shows clear, deep understanding of local environments and ecosystems. This knowledge is now vital to modern environmental management strategies, showcasing Indigenous knowledge. The Australian curriculum's geography discipline uses knowledge and culture to explore concepts such as sustainability, interconnection, and environmental changes. In Year 8, students analyse the topic landforms and landscapes, learning about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's cultural, spiritual, and aesthetic values in this context. Through geographical inquiry, students learn that the land is a living relationship with many different parts, and is not just property. Whilst both history and geography are disciplines in their own right, their overlap is crucial when exploring Indigenous connections to land. History encourages us to understand how these relationships evolve over time, from pre-colonization to modern-day understandings of the ongoing impacts from colonization. Geography pushes us to understand the physical aspects of these relationships across different spaces, such as on-country and different environments. Both disciplines use different kinds of evidence, with history including verbal stories and artifacts, and geography including maps and data. However, both disciplines have the overall goal to explain how the world is shaped by human understanding. The combination of historical and geographical lenses allows students to achieve a deeper understanding of Indigenous knowledge in a respectful manner. When looking into various curriculum frameworks, it is obvious how both disciplines are represented. The Australian Curriculum version 9, or ACARA, prioritises Indigenous histories and cultures in both history and geography, with the hope that students recognise the world's oldest living culture. Throughout the HASS curriculum, from Foundation to Grade 10, students are encouraged to delve deeper into all perspectives of narratives and develop respect for both country and culture. The 2024 New South Wales HSIE syllabus enhances the content from ACARA by highlighting truth-telling, Indigenous worldviews, and connection to country. These are used as guiding principles students can build their inquiry and understanding around. Even then, academic researchers have found that Indigenous knowledge in the classroom is presented as more of an addition to content rather than the centre of the material. This leaves communities questioning curriculum designs, whose knowledge is centred in education, and whose knowledge is left as an addition. Both ACARA and New South Wales HSIE convey positive progress in laying Indigenous perspectives. However, more work needs to be done to ensure these perspectives shape how students learn about belonging, identity, and land, and more importantly, how students recognise Indigenous cultures. To summarise, both history and geography present tools that are crucial to understanding Indigenous culture, land, and continuity. History allows us to explore changes and acts of resilience across continuous time periods, whilst geography enlightens us about the interconnectedness of the world and the importance of relationships between both people and place. Combined, the message is that country isn't just about the past or the environment, but its continuing connection and the responsibility to take care of it. As future educators, there is a responsibility to guarantee Indigenous knowledge and voices are respected and centred in learning approaches, curriculum, and classrooms. The educational gap still exists, and whilst the curriculum cannot fill the gap, it can produce students who understand the gap better than before. Thank you for watching. References used throughout are from credible Australian websites and businesses. I have referenced the Australian curriculum multiple times throughout this presentation, as well as the New South Wales HSIE syllabus. I have also taken notes and understandings from the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies, Reconciliation Australia, a collaborative report on geospatial gaps, and the book The Big Six Historical Thinking Concepts.